The Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Board of Trustees is now convened in a board work session on Thursday, April 6, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center located at 10300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas, for the purpose of reviewing that portion of the Monday, April 10, 2023 regular board meeting agenda designated as action items and to hear designated reports and recognitions posted in the meeting notice as required by Texas law. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. Audience members may not participate in the meeting outside the designated agenda items for citizen participation or public comment. Disruption of the meeting by any person, including the audience, is inappropriate and will be addressed by the board president or the board's counsel as a meeting parliamentarian. Continued or repeated disruption of any board meeting by words or action may result in removal or loss of the privilege to attend the meeting. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on the district website. They will also be available as video on demand on the district website following tonight's meeting. For the video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. I'm going to check mine now. Now it's off. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. This evening, we do not have any elected officials in our midst, no Scouts and no Girl Scouts. The invocation, pledge of allegiance, vision, and mission statement, portions of remarks and recognitions, board comments, portions of reports, and citizen participation will be presented at the regular board meeting on Monday, April 10, 2023. At each open meeting of the board, patrons who have registered in accordance with the procedures established by BED regulation may address the board during the designated agenda comments period prior to the board's consideration or action on the item, unless the agenda is otherwise rearranged by the board president during the meeting. Agenda comments will generally be taken prior to each agenda item. For detailed information and instructions on registering to speak under agenda comments, please go to the district website at www.cfisd.net. Patrons who have registered to speak this evening may see the order of names listed on the screens to your right and to your left. Before your name is called, please move forward and sit in one of the two reserved seats on the front row to my right. We will now proceed with item 1E of the remarks and recognitions portion of the agenda. Item 1A through 1D will be presented at the Monday, April 10th, 2023 regular board meeting. 1E, the board will recognize the UIL state champion for the 50-yard freestyle and the 100-yard freestyle. The presenter is Virginia Flores, and we have no speakers on this evening. So, Ms. Flores.
Mr. Jackson, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Henry, it's my pleasure to be here tonight representing our athletic department to present to you an athlete who achieved the absolute highest level in UIL competition in boys swimming at the UIL State Swim Meet held on the campus at the University of Texas on Saturday, February 18th. I really appreciate the time that you're affording us to publicly recognize this very highly deserving young man. Benjamin Scholl, if you'll come on up. Ben is a senior at Cy Woods, and as Mr. Jackson said, he is a gold medalist in the 50-yard freestyle and a gold medalist in the 100-yard freestyle. He's excelled in his 4 years at Cy Woods and has been a fixture on the medal stand at district, regional, and state events. He was also named the All-Greater Houston Boys Swimmer of the Year. We are extremely proud of Ben and the way in which he has positively represented Cypress Woods and CFISD athletics. We are excited to see what Ben's next chapter holds as he competes for Texas A&M swim and dive team next year. I would also ask that if anybody else is here with family members, please stand up and rise, come up with Ben, as well as his coach, Michael Marucci. We'd also like to recognize our aquatics director, Jonathan Mayer. I know he's not here, and his staff for providing and maintaining such a first-class environment for our kids to train in at the CFISD Natatorium. As we conclude our portion of this meeting, I want to thank the board and Dr. Henry's administrative team for their support of our athletic programs. Celebrations like this would not be possible without their collective efforts.
Virginia.
Yes, sir.
His principal is also back there.
Oh, I was waiting for you up here at the front, Mr. Kenniger. Mr. Kenniger, if you'll come on up. All right. Thank you.
Although y'all are welcome to stay for the meeting, this is also a great time if you have to go study or need to slip out. So I'm just letting you know.
Good dinner.
And on your way out, I want to be able to see you in Omaha, Nebraska for the Olympic trials one day.
Oh, awesome.
Excellent. We will now proceed with items 3A and 3B of the reports portion of the agenda. While item 3C will be presented at the Monday, April 10th, 2023 regular board meeting, we do have one speaker for this item this evening. And that would be on item 3C. 3A, the administration will provide a report on community programs. Our presenter is Irene Ruiz. There are no speakers this evening.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Jackson, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Henry. I appreciate the opportunity to share how community programs is bringing out the best in our staff, students, and little learners. The Community Programs Department is an ancillary department with approximately 3,700 enrolled children and 300 staff members. Our mission is to provide quality childcare options for our families at affordable rates while generating revenue for the district. Community Programs manages 2 of the district's childcare programs: Club Rewind, which is the before and after school care program offered for grades pre-K through 5 at our elementary campuses, and the Early Learning Centers, which are licensed child care facilities for employees' children and grandchildren ages 6 weeks through 4 years old. We have 3 main goals that guide our day-to-day operations and decisions. Number 1 is to offer high-quality and affordable child care options for our CFISD families while providing an engaging environment for the children in our programs. Number 2 is to ensure the safety and security of our students and staff by implementing the same safety protocols you see across CFISD campuses and facilities. We work closely with our elementary principals and CFISD Police Department to ensure our staff know how to respond to various emergency situations at each campus and ELC. And number 3, we are proud to provide these services all while generating additional revenue for the district. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Christy Richter, Community Programs Assistant Director, who oversees our Club Rewind programs.
Good evening. Club Rewind is the before and after school program which started in 2010 and operates at 56 elementary campuses with a combined program for Joel and Hoover Elementaries. We proudly serve approximately 3,300 students across the district. The before school program begins at 6:30 a.m. and the after school program ends at 6:30 p.m. each instructional day, making it convenient and easy for parents to drop off or pick up their children on the way to or from work. The program provides engaging activities in the areas of team building, STEM challenges, cultural appreciation, physical movement, and so much more. Each year, we conduct a market analysis to ensure we remain competitive with local daycare facilities. We also offer discounted rates for district employees and for students who are eligible for the free and reduced lunch programs. Club Rewind employs approximately 230 staff members who love working with children and making a positive impact on the students we serve. Each campus is allocated a program manager, a program clerk, and program leaders who lead student activities. We are proud of the diversity among our staff members who serve as positive role models for our Cypher ISD students and community. As you know, staffing has been challenging for our campuses and departments since the pandemic, and community programs is no exception. We have become quite creative and have turned to our current district staff to help fill this need. We share employees with many campuses and other departments such as nutrition services, operations, and technology. Employees who serve in these dual roles are truly going above and beyond to meet the needs of our district and our students. We also have many high school students whose long-term goals are to pursue a career working with children, and we are happy to provide them with the opportunities to start gaining this valuable experience and training. If you know someone who's interested in starting a career in Cypher ISD, please ask them to visit our website. Club Rewind staff members are responsible for implementing an engaging curriculum and schedule, which includes rotations through various activities during program hours. Activities include time spent on enrichment, physical activities in the gym or outdoors, and structured lessons on various topics. We also align activities with many district and campus initiatives. It's exciting to see staff and students participating in activities such as Red Ribbon Week, Read Across America, or celebrating the 100th day of school with fun, hands-on experiences. Students may also showcase their talents during our annual talent show and Lights On after-school events, which parents are encouraged to attend. The Club Rewind program utilizes PBIS strategies by implementing the PBIS matrix from each campus and focusing on positive reinforcement to provide praise and recognition to students. We also reinforce the district's monthly character trait to support bringing out the best in our students each day. Using consistent language across the school day and into Club Rewind sets our students up for success with clear expectations and allows for smooth transitions to and from the school day. Through these initiatives, our students have the opportunity to spread kindness during various staff appreciation events. Here you can see some of our artwork that Club Rewind students created for our custodians and also for our Board of Trustees. The Community Programs Department also provides a day camp option for children of district employees on designated teacher workdays or professional development days. This camp provides a day of engaging activities for students at the Berry Center while their parents work hard to meet the various needs of our district. Our final teacher workday camp for this school year will be held on April the 10th. For our families who need care or simply want to keep their children engaged in activities over the summer, we also offer 2 summer camp options. The first option is Club Rewind Summer Camp, which is a licensed child care program available on a weekly basis for incoming kindergarten through 6th grade students. This camp provides a variety of fun activities throughout each day, which include physical activities, team building, STEM activities, art, and special on-site experiences such as Snapology and Little Beakers. The students also get to enjoy off-campus adventures by going on field trips. We offer 2 summer camp locations each year, and this summer the camp will operate at Arnold and Blyle Middle School. In addition to full-day Club Rewind Summer Camp, Camp Captivate is another camp option which allows students to experience a week-long camp in a specialized area such as cooking, science, sports, coding, or even video production. These specialized enrichment camps are facilitated by our own Cypress-Fairbanks teachers who share a passion for the topic they choose to teach. Spillane Middle School will host our Camp Captivate during the summer of 2023 over 2 weeks in June and 2 weeks in July. We encourage parents to visit our webpage to learn about these fun summer adventures and to enroll. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Nadia Stovall, our Community Programs Assistant Director for our Early Learning Centers.
Good evening. In addition to providing care for elementary students, the Community Programs Department also operates the CFISD Early Learning Centers, or ELCs, which proudly serve CFISD youngest learners, starting at just 6 weeks old. These licensed child care centers provide quality education and care for 429 children and grandchildren of CFISD employees in care and open from 6 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. each year. Each year, the centers open early in August so our district employees can begin preparing for the start of the school year. The ELC is a happy place where children learn through play and exploration while educating the whole child. We love giving our ELC parents peace of mind, knowing their children are in a safe, nurturing environment while they work hard to meet the needs of our students and district. Just like we do with Club Rewind, a market analysis is conducted each year to ensure we remain competitive with other child care centers in our community. There are 5 ELC locations throughout the district. ELC 1 and ELC 2 are freestanding centers. ELC 1 is located near Pigeon Stadium, and ELC 2 is located near Owens Elementary. The other 3 ELCs are housed in portable buildings. Andre ELC is located behind Andre Elementary. Barker ELC is located at Barker Transportation Site, and Telge ELC relocated this year to the Telge Complex between the Science Resource Center and the Ag Barn. In the 2019-2020 school year, Andre ELC was open to meet the demands of our growing waiting list on the west side of the district. Well, Andre ELC quickly reached maximum capacity, and this year we grew again by expanding Telge ELC from 2 portable buildings to 4 portable buildings. Next year, we will enter phase 2 of the Telge ELC expansion by adding 4 more portable buildings, allowing us to double our capacity at that center from 90 to 180 children. Here, you can see a summary of our current enrollment and waiting list data. The enrollment tables show the capacity of each center, the number of children enrolled, the number of spots available, and the capacity percentage. Overall, the ELCs are at 99% enrollment capacity. The waiting list chart reflects how many children are on the waiting list by age group for each center. I would like to point out that the waiting list is now at 227 students, further emphasizing the need to explore possibilities for future expansion. The ELCs employ 76 staff members, and each center is staffed with a center director, ELC instructors, and ELC instructor aides. Staff members must complete at least 24 hours of staff development to meet childcare licensing minimum standards, and they also complete all training required for district employees. While the training topics are extensive, some topics include child growth and development, CPR and first aid, curriculum and age-appropriate activities, and active supervision. The ELCs utilize the Frog Street curriculum, which is a research-based program that integrates instruction across early learning disciplines in the following developmental domains: cognitive, language, physical, social and emotional. From our infant classrooms to our pre-K classrooms, we focus on providing children with a language and print-rich environment to support their learning and growth in each of these areas. Our pre-K instructors attend the district staff development week to receive training on the same high-quality curriculum you see in the district's pre-K classrooms. Our goal is to prepare our little learners for kindergarten and beyond by teaching the whole child and encouraging them to learn through play. Learning kindergarten sight words, subitizing numbers, and conducting science experiments are just a few of the academic concepts we focus on to build a strong foundation. We appreciate the CFISD Curriculum and Instruction Department for helping us to align our curriculum and activities with the district standards. An initiative we started last school year is the Aspiring Director Institute, a program inspired by the many CFISD Leadership Institutes. The goal of this program is to identify and invest in current employees who demonstrate leadership potential and provide them with the opportunity to develop the knowledge and skills necessary for leading an early learning center in CFISD. I will now turn it back over to our director, Irene Ruiz.
The Community Programs Department works hard around the year to recruit applicants and train new employees to best meet the needs of our students. Every spring, we visit students in PALS, Child Guidance, and Ready, Set, Teach classes at each high school to inform them of the opportunities available working with children in CFISD once they graduate. Many of our staff members work in Club Rewind or at the ELCs while attending college courses to obtain their teacher certification. We love providing these staff members with rich experiences and strong foundational skills that they will utilize throughout their careers. We beam with pride when we see our former staff members hired as classroom teachers or paraprofessionals to continue growing within the district. From our youngest learners to our most seasoned staff, Community Programs continues to provide opportunities for all to learn and grow within our programs. Thank you so much for allowing us to share with you how Community Programs is bringing out the best for our CFISD families and community. At this time, I'd like to recognize some of our staff members who are here tonight. A lot of our department staff are back there. If you can, please stand. We have some of our Club Rewind coordinators and our curriculum coordinators as well. Thank you. At this time, I'd be happy to take any questions.
So let me start to the right. Scott.
No questions, just that my sincere thank you for all you do, and your staff does as well. I know, talking to my neighbors and community, they all would know what to do without this program, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gilbert.
Yes, like to echo Scott's sentiments also. Thank you very much for your staff and everybody that helps quite a deal with the community and the little ones. They look precious. I do have a question.
Yes.
Do we get any money from the state, Teresa, on this? Not a dime, huh? So that's unfortunate. That's just to show how our district, I think Mark put it 2-3 years ago, right before the pandemic started. We'll do whatever it takes to make sure everything's done the right way and stuff. So thank you again, Ms. Reese.
Thank you.
Julie.
Thank you so much for sharing all the amazing work that you and your department do. We appreciate you very much. I will say I encourage my fellow board members, if they haven't had a chance to visit an ELC location and Club Rewind, to reach out to Irene and schedule that. It's truly, these are joyful places. ELC is just such a delight to see just the littlest ones, and they're learning their letters and their numbers, and the curriculum is fantastic. It's it's high quality childcare that's being provided for our employees, children, and I think it's a really important recruitment and retention tool for our employees to be able to offer high-quality childcare for our employees. That's really something that differentiates us from other school districts and something we're very proud of. Club Rewind as well provides an incredible service to working parents to be able to drop their kiddos off as early as 6:30 in the morning in a safe environment where they're not going to be transported again. They're already on campus, they're already at school, and they're with their peers and their teachers. And so it's nice that our students and their parents have that reassurance that they're in a good, safe place. A couple questions. One, I know that community programs generates revenue for the district. Can you share what that is? Do you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So last year, we were able to transfer about 1.4 million back to the general fund.
Wow.
With the Club Rewind revenue that was generated.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Again, meeting the needs of our employees and our community parents, but still generating revenue you're not just self-sufficient, but generating revenue for the district. That is fantastic. You shared the wait list for our ELCs, for our employees' children and grandchildren. So when I think about the expansion needs, so I think of two things, facilities and staff. So are we working on a plan for that?
That's a great question.
Is that coming in the budget when we talk in June?
Yes, we just continue to explore ways that we can continue to grow, and we work very closely. Matt Morgan, I know he's always working with us
Okay.
on any of the needs that we have, anytime that there's an opportunity. For example, when we took Andre was previously Eldridge ELC,
Right.
and that was a one portable ELC, and we were able to move it to Andre ELC, double that capacity for that center, and then we went to, with Telge ELC, we're in phase 1 of that, and looking at next year, we're excited about doubling again. So, with the facilities that are available in the district, we're always open to new ideas and kind of think outside the box to see how else we can obtain more classrooms. The constraints that we have with that is sometimes we have to think about, parking spaces for our staff members and the drop-off and pickup process and how that may interfere with the campus operation as well, playground structures, things like that, and of course licensing regulations. Those are very unique and different from, our public school operations, and so those are all things that we need to consider.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
First, let me say thank you, excellent presentation. I did have an opportunity to see this presentation in greater detail when it was presented at VIPS. Julie, I have had the opportunity to visit these programs. For the Early Learning Center, I was actually able to interview the director on tape, and portions of that taped interview were shown in all major cities around the state, and it received accolades. No accolades for me asking the questions, though, but for the answers, and certainly it generated interest from different districts. Oddly enough, this was a hot campaign topic in my very first election. Obviously, I was in favor of these programs. Not everybody was. Now these programs are no longer controversial. They're considered to be best practices throughout the state, and I obviously remain supportive of both of these programs. When the program was initially established, the vision in the eyes of the prior superintendent was to put $1 million to the bottom line, which was critical because we were facing a massive budget shortfall, and you needed dollars from anywhere. And to say that you're able to put 1.4 to the bottom line and still remain competitive is truly significant, because those dollars go back into the classroom and they go where they're needed. So let me say thank you and a little tip of the hat to your staff who makes all of this happen. I do have a couple of questions. I think I heard one of them answered. So when I first did the interview for the ELCs, we had not adopted the CFISD curriculum. So have we now interwoven the CFISD approach for pre-K into our ELC curriculum?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
We have the Frog Street curriculum, which is the same curriculum that our pre-K classrooms use on campuses. And we have collaborated with our curriculum and instruction department. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to attend the training alongside our phenomenal CFISD teachers so that our instructors can also take back those same practices and resources back to the classroom and provide those opportunities for our own employees' children.
Excellent answer, because that was going to be one of my next follow-up questions. This question is for Teresa. So Teresa, during the legislative briefing, I noticed in one of the bills there's actually discussion, which means there's a paragraph in one of the bills about providing some type of funding for ELCs like what we have that serve our staff. Does that have legs, or is it really just discussion this legislative session, and maybe next one we might see action? Do we have a feel for that?
It's hard to tell at this point in time. That language is included in HB 11, which is Harold Dutton's bill, and then SB 9, which is Senator Creighton's bill. So what the provision that's currently included in both bills would allow for school districts to expand pre-K eligibility to children of teachers. I mean, I think that would be a great benefit for teachers with young children, and it would depend if they were going to allow for 3- and 4-year-olds to have eligibility for pre-K. Now, the challenge for districts, currently we only receive funding for half-day. We offer a full-day program, so it may increase some of our costs. The other thing that I know Ms. Francis and I talked about, after we were talking about those two bills, is that we would see kind of a decline, though, also in the ELC enrollment, possibly for the 4-year-old classroom, but it may open up more slots for employees that are not teachers, that have children in that age group. So again, as far as the likelihood of that passing, I think those are two bills that definitely are moving through the process. And so we're just going to have to watch and see if that individual provision is included in the final bills. So.
It is always difficult to forecast what actually is going to turn out when the final language is pulled together and written. Irene, you were talking about that you were exploring all possibilities. I would remind my colleagues that the district did look into partnering with industry in pre-K, and I visited that arrangement, and we had great high hopes for it. That was where we provided the curriculum, we provided the supplies, we provided the training, industry provided staff and facilities, but it didn't work. So it was one of those great ideas. The district moved ahead on it, and just not a marriage that was made in heaven. But I do appreciate that you continue to investigate. We don't have much usable land left, and I know we don't have anything in our building budget left. But I encourage you, Mark, as well as you, Karen. I think this is a wonderful area that we can expand, particularly for teachers and staff. It is, in fact, a tremendous benefit. Thank you for your presentation, but thank you to you, your team, and all your staff. Wonderful job. Well done.
Thank you for the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Item 3B. The administration will provide a report on the teacher incentive allotment. There are no speakers this evening. The presenters will be members of the TIA Core Advisory Council.
President Jackson, Dr. Henry, and Board of Trustees. This evening, we will provide you with a brief review and an update on the teacher incentive allotment, also known as TIA. The purpose of the teacher incentive allotment is to attract and retain highly effective teachers and to provide additional funding to eligible teachers who earn local designations. Teachers can achieve designations through two different pathways: National Board Certification or a local designation system. In Cyfair, we are providing teachers with both options. A teacher's allotment is determined by the Texas Education Agency and is dependent upon the campus's socioeconomic need and rural status. Since none of our campuses are classified as rural, our teachers will not be able to earn the highest funding level in each designation. There are three types of designations a teacher may earn: master, exemplary, and recognized. Districts receive an annual allotment per designated teacher. Once the designation is earned by a teacher, it's valid for 5 years and will travel with the teacher. At least 90% of the allotment the district receives must be spent on compensation of teachers employed at the campus where the designated teacher works. Districts may choose to request fee reimbursement through the teacher incentive allotment for National Board certified teachers who certify or renewed in 2019 or later. The district will be reimbursed by the state, and the district will reimburse the teacher. You will recall that a district designation system must contain two components: teacher observation and student growth. In Cyfair, observation is based on our locally adopted appraisal rubric called Cyfair tests. For student performance, our initial application focused on STAR growth. As presented last spring, the first group of Cyfair teachers eligible for the local designation are currently displayed on the screen. These grade levels and content areas were selected due to the availability of the STAR progress measure, which could be used in the teacher incentive allotment. When we look back on the spring and summer of 2022, in March, we presented the teacher incentive allotment plan to principals and to you, the Board of Trustees, where we obtained feedback from both groups. In April, we submitted our teacher incentive allotment application to the Texas Education Agency. In May, we were notified that our application was approved. Then, in the summer of 2022, we began district-level planning to implement the teacher incentive allotment. That's where we were. Now let's take a look at where we are. In July of 2022, our summer of TIA planning was unexpectedly interrupted when we received information from the Texas Education Agency that they would not be providing student progress measure data during the 22-23 school year due to changes in the STAR assessment. As a result, we notified TEA that we would begin using their transition tables to determine student growth. These will allow us to now include English 1 teachers and elementary teachers whose students move from Spanish to English assessments. Here's how they work. A student's STAR score from the prior year, in this case scoring in the higher range of the did not meet category, is aligned with the student's current STAR score, in this case scoring in the higher range of the approaches category. This would indicate the student made growth. In another example, a student who scored at the master's level in the prior year, then at the meets level in the current year, would indicate the student did not make growth. As a result of these changes, we put a pause on TIA for the 2022-23 school year. Our appraisal system remained the same. Cyfair test calibration continued. We deferred data collection and distinction recommendations to this coming school year, and we have been identifying other growth instruments that can be used to bring additional teachers into TIA eligibility. This fall and early spring, campus administrators engaged in a district-wide Cypher test calibration event to ensure inter-rater reliability across the district, while fostering discussions about how each appraiser rated the observed lesson. When used strategically, calibration events such as this help appraisers develop an even deeper understanding of what effective instruction looks like and ensure that each appraiser is aligned in how they're collecting evidence and evaluating teachers. The calibration event was facilitated via My Learning in the Cypress-Fairbanks Professional Growth System. Appraisers viewed and scored an assignment video lesson. As a next step, the district will use the collected scores to gauge calibration between appraisers across the district. The information will be shared with principals along with plans for additional district-wide calibration events. As previously shared with the board, campus administrators, and teachers, this year we focused on how to include additional teachers into TIA eligibility. We've been able to do just this using the Measure of Academic Progress growth tool, also known as MAP Growth. We added this assessment to our cadre of tools used to measure student learning and growth. The MAP tool is used at the beginning, middle, and end of year to measure student knowledge of the texts in reading, math, and science. Teachers use the related data to ensure instruction is based on areas of student need. Using the MAP Growth tool, we will add additional teachers in the following grade levels and content areas beginning in the 23-24 school year: kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third grade, reading and math, and elementary science. Regarding teachers earning National Board certification and automatically qualifying for the TIA recognized designation, you will recall that we provide our teachers with the opportunity to participate in 13 free cohort sessions led by Dr. Tanya Gorey and other Cypher National Board certified teachers to prepare for the certification test and required submissions. 17 teachers participating in Cohort 1 attempted the certification. Of those, 10 were certified and will be recognized at Monday night's board meeting. And 6 of those are in the process of resubmitting. Additionally, 2 members of Cohort 1 are submitting for the first time this year. 62 teachers were initially accepted into Cohort 2, 41 began the work, and 21 are currently enrolled. Our third cohort will begin this summer. Now we will review our TIA spending plan. The state requires the district to spend at least 90% of the TIA funds on teacher compensation at the designated teacher's campus. Based on stakeholder input from the district's TIA Full Advisory Council, comprised of principals, teachers, campus, and district administrators, it was determined that 90% of the TIA funds will be provided directly to the teacher that earned the designation. The 90% compensation includes all TRS contributions, both employer and employee portions, and all Medicare benefits, both employer and employee portions. 10% of the generated allotment will be used to expand the local designation system to additional content areas, which would include the purchase of assessments to measure student growth. The 10% will also include supporting the district's effort to ensure calibration of appraisals. Districts are notified each April by TEA of the new allotment amounts per campus for recognized exemplary and master's designations. The district will notify teachers in May if they will be receiving an allotment and the amount of the total allotment generated. Teachers who earn designations will receive a separate lump sum payment in the summer of 2023, no later than August 31st. Cyfair has several designated teachers that have been receiving the teacher incentive allotment since the 2020-21 school year when funding began. In 2021, Cyfair had 4 designated teachers, 3 of which earned the recognized designation through the National Board Certification. One of the 4 designated teachers moved to Cyfair from another district where they earned an exemplary designation through that district's local system. The total allotment generated and paid by the state was $20,253. In 2021-22, Cyfair had 7 designated teachers, 5 recognized and 2 exemplary. 3 of the 5 teachers earned the recognized designation through the National Board Certification. The other designations were originally earned from other districts through their local system. The total allotment generated and paid by the state was $36,270. This year, we anticipate 23 designated teachers, 19 recognized and 4 exemplary. Out of the 19 recognized designations, 12 are National Board Certified teachers. This information and allotment amounts will be finalized later this month. Finally, let's review the updated TIA timeline. In March, we updated the district leadership team, and this month we're updating you, the Board of Trustees, through this presentation. Next week, we will update teachers through an email containing a link to this presentation and the TIA website on the Cyfair intranet. There, teachers may submit questions about the teacher incentive allotment, which we will answer directly and then post on our frequently asked questions document. We're also submitting a modified application to the Texas Education Agency, adding in the new teacher groups. Let's fast forward a few months. In the summer of 2023, this summer, we will model our 2022-23 data to test our process. During the 23-24 school year, we will begin data collection, teacher appraisal, and student growth data. In November of 2024, we will submit our data to Texas Tech for validation. In February of 2025, TEA will notify us if we passed or failed data validation. In April of 2025, TEA will notify us of the amount of funding per designated teacher. We fully anticipate being validated with our data by Texas Tech. And then in the summer of 2025, that will be the earliest date our identified teachers through the local designation system would receive their allotment. At this time, we would be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Let me look to my left. Julie?
Thank you, Dr. Claiborne, for the update. Obviously, we are anxious to continue to move forward and invest in this program because it's an alternative way for our teachers to increase their pay. I appreciate that the district looked for opportunities to increase the number and type of teachers who have the opportunity to gain access to this additional pay through the TIA. And I'm especially happy to see that we're using a non-STAR tool to measure student progress and growth. I think that's a very positive step. Because that tool actually truly does show growth, and that's useful diagnostic information for teachers to use, but it can also be used for our TIA program.
Correct.
So I was glad to see that. Let me see if there's any other questions I had. The process is so long, and I understand that. It just takes a lot of time because of the data collection and the need for it to be submitted for validation. So I appreciate that you've continued to stick with it and to maintain that momentum even during these challenging times. To Mr. Jackson's point about pending proposed legislation, they are looking in some of these bills that are being proposed to increasing the state funding through TIA. So I anticipate they're continuing to invest in the program, so I'm glad that we are as well, and looking for more ways to expand it for our teachers. So
Yes, ma'am, and we will continue looking to expand throughout the years. We're not stopping now.
thank you.
To my right, Scott.
Yeah, just to echo Julie's comments on that, I'm glad we're not using Star Data either. But I know our teachers are overtaxed many times with lots of other things from the state that are being mandated on them. And I know when we first looked at this, there was a very minute scope of teachers that could do it. I'm glad we're expanding as well. And thank you for all your time. I know it's Herculean effort to do all these and dot your I's and cross your T's and things like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the teachers who participated. I know it's not easy. I know it's hard, but I know the outcome will be great for them as well as us.
Gilbert.
Yes, thank you for everything that you guys are doing. Are there any of the exemplary or the other qualified teachers, any stories that you can share in the future about what they're working on and stuff?
So there are areas of certification, for instance, if they're national board certified?
No, well, anything positive. We want to stay on positive form.
So I think something that's very positive is our cohort, our national board certified cohort. We have so many teachers who initially start, and it's very difficult and a rigorous process.
Right.
And so the ones that continue and actually certify are certified by the national board. It is truly a great honor to earn that national board certification. And so we're so happy to be building our cadre of those national board teachers in Cy-Fair. They're very thankful that the cohort is free. Other surrounding areas provide cohorts, but they're at a cost. So we're able to do that for free in Cy-Fair.
Yes.
On Monday, you'll get to meet some of our
Man.
national board certified teachers. So I think you'll enjoy hearing some of that there.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, both of y'all. Thank you very much.
As always, excellent presentation. Cy-Fair always continues to exceed expectations. We have to be careful as a board not to accept that to be the norm, but recognize that it isn't, in fact, something very special that you're doing here. When we first talked about this program, literally years ago, I voiced certain concerns. One, that this type of program has been proposed by the state, and the state never followed through with funding, but it appears as if perhaps it has funding legs. The other concern was part of the business model of this district is built upon vertical and horizontal teaching intersections, and I worried out loud on camera, will this program damage that? Will it cause some teachers to pull away from the team teaching concept? Or will there be issues about allocation of students? I always like to comment about the lessons that principals love to teach me, and certainly I need them and still do. But one of the early lessons from Robbie Sheridan's daughter, when she was principal, was one student in one classroom can lower academic attainment by every person in that classroom. So any comments you care to make on those concerns that I've raised previously, and on a going forth basis, anything that we're doing to perhaps mitigate those concerns?
Dr. Macias, you want to answer that one?
Well, I think the way that the teachers are being evaluated, and remember, it's growth. So you don't have to have the highest achieving students to be able to qualify for these different levels, because it is based on growth. So you can have some of our struggling kids in the class along with some of your higher achievement, and as long as they're making growth, teachers will qualify for this. I think one thing that I will just kind of add there is when I think about our national board certified teachers, we're seeing something different with them, Mr. Jackson. They're actually helping each other. And so on Monday, Dr. Goree will talk a little bit about this program and about how these national board certified teachers are coming back around and supporting each other to make sure that we grow even more national certified teachers.
Excellent. Positive synergy is always wonderful when it happens. It's nothing that you can plan for, but when you have good people, good things can happen. Thank you ever so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Claiborne. Item 3C, the administration will provide an update on the 88th legislative session. We do have one speaker this evening, Dr. Tara Cummings. Mr. Secretary, are you ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know about y'all, but I get lost and overwhelmed trying to keep up with the current Texas legislative session and all the various bills that would impact CFISD and public education. So I got to give mad props and many, many thanks to the Community Leadership Committee, or CLC, for their, new to me anyway, communication system and calls to action. Now, instead of trying to keep up with everything myself, I simply await those texts from CLC about which bills are at what stage of the process, what it all means, and what I can do to help. Thanks to CLC, I've made umpteen calls to multiple lawmakers in just the past 2 days about SB 8 and the Herrero Amendment of HB 1, which, if y'all haven't heard yet, that passed the House this afternoon, which is good news. For folks not yet in the know about the CLC text that I'm talking about, I want to urge you to take a few simple steps right now. Go into your phone's text messaging app and text at CLC 2023 to 81010. That's at CLC 2023 to 81010. That's it. Then you just wait for those texts. There are calls to action. You follow the instructions. So thank you so much to the members of CLC for helping us all to do our part to protect CFISD, and I look forward to administration's legislative report at Monday's board meeting. Thank you.
The presentation on 3C, of course, will take place on Monday. The board will now review the following action items. During review of the following action items, any board member may remove one or more of these items, at which times these items will be addressed and voted on individually. Of course, we don't vote tonight. We will vote Monday. But tonight, we would be moving these to the consent agenda. 4A, the board will consider approving the minutes of the March 6, 2023 regular board meeting. No speakers. May we put this on the consent agenda?
Yes.
It is. Holly, thank you. 4B, the board will consider adopting the resolution to modify adjustments in comptroller's property value assignment for granting a local optional homestead exemption. That was hard to get out. Karen, we have no speakers on this topic this evening, and you are the presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. You may recall that the district used to have a resolution that they would adopt that had to do with getting rid of the penalty because of the optional homestead exemption. And the reason that we called it a penalty is there was a period of time, about 6 years, where the school district was not allowed to remove the optional homestead exemption. That has since sunset. Therefore, we've changed the optional homestead exemption resolution, and we actually stopped bringing it to the board for a while because, once again, there wasn't the penalty anymore because you could remove the optional homestead exemption. However, there has been some interest that we've heard at the legislative level where they have a couple times looked at maybe modifying that adjustment in the comptroller's property values. Now, I haven't seen a whole lot going forward at this point, but they did have some hearings researching that previously prior to the legislative session starting. So this is to modify the adjustment in the comptroller's property value assignment where basically our state aid funding is not hurt because of having an optional homestead exemption. Just so you know, we've had the optional homestead exemption since 1983, and so the recommendation is that the state recognize the entire amount of that optional homestead exemption in the state funding formulas.
That's an excellent overview, but this is kind of a meaty subject. Let me go to my right. Scott, any questions or comments?
Not this time. Thank you. I looked it over.
Gilbert. To my left, Julie.
Karen, thank you for the update to the resolution. As you said, things have changed in the last couple of legislative sessions with that sunsetting of that penalty. What we still experience feels like a penalty because our state aid is reduced by over $60 million that we could be putting into our classrooms. But because this board has chosen to provide additional property tax relief to our taxpayers, the state has in turn lowered, because of the way the property values are calculated by the comptroller's office, it's lowered our state aid by over $60 million, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
So I feel having a resolution gives us an opportunity to make a statement to the state legislature that this continues to be an issue for our district and for our ability to compensate our teachers and to provide resources in our classrooms. I will also share that during our times on Tuesday, when we were at the state capitol visiting with some of our elected officials, we actually in one of the offices, a senator's office, spent a great deal of time on this topic, and they are aware of the impact that the way the comptroller calculates our property tax values and the negative impact on our state aid and on our resources for our classrooms and our students and our teachers. So I left feeling slightly optimistic, tiny little ray of hope. But the door was open, and I think this will be a great tool for us to go back and to continue that conversation.
Well, especially since providing taxpayer relief is so important in this legislative session.
Well, it's important to all of us, but we don't want it to be at the consequence or the negative impact on our students.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for pulling together the resolution, Karen and Marnie. And I also want to say thank you to my colleagues who were able to go to Austin. I think it was important when we sat in our legislative elected officials' offices. This was one of the points that we talked about. And I was most impressed. There was one office, and they knew exactly what we were talking about. And they knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to encourage districts to adopt the optional homestead exemption, and it did not look as if they were going to ignore those districts that had already adopted it. However, it's only at a discussion point, and I don't know that it's shown up in any language yet. So there's still a lot of green between the cup and the lip, but at least we're talking about it. So the question is, do we put this on the consent agenda or do we leave it as a standalone item? Scott? Consent's fine? Gilbert?
Yeah.
Consent? Julie? Holly? Consent agenda. Item 4C. The board will consider adopting a resolution opposing any mechanisms that reduce public education funding. We have two speakers. Stacy DeMeyer.
Hello. I'd like to thank President Jackson for including this resolution on the April board meeting agenda. I've been voicing my concerns about several of the trustees' anti-public ed initiatives for over a year now. During the last primary election, 3 trustees endorsed candidates who were promoting school choice. One particular endorsement was very concerning to me because the candidate actually included the district's logo on his endorsement. I wondered about the confusion this was potentially creating in our community. If voters thought this candidate was being endorsed by CFISD, they would have assumed that he was the best choice when it came to supporting our public schools. This was a huge abuse of power on the part of these trustees. Luckily, none of their endorsed candidates won. But as we all know.
Pardon me just a second. So we need to make certain that our comments are tied directly to the resolution. Please.
But as we all know, vouchers continue to be a threat to our public schools, as they are right now being seriously considered in the 88th legislative session. Several weeks ago, Scott Henry intentionally skipped a meeting for a district committee that he was a facilitator for. We know he skipped the meeting to attend a political rally at a local private school in which Governor Abbott was visiting as part of his parent empowerment tour, a tour that, among other things, promoted.
Mr. Meyer, is that about our resolution?
Is the resolution about making sure that the board is participating in activities that don't reduce the funding to our district?
It's about support of legislation or not that diverts public funds. I just want us to, we're just trying hard to stay focused on the agenda items.
Okay. Okay, so while this alone was troubling, what really concerned me was seeing Mr. Henry at the state capitol this week, acting in his capacity as the CFISD trustee to meet with our elected officials. Was Mr. Henry there to advocate for our school district, or was he advocating for Governor Abbott's plan to take away money from our public schools? Imagine the damage a school board trustee of the third largest school district in our state can do if they use their position of power and influence to support vouchers. How is the district ensuring that the trustees, while they're working in their capacity as a trustee, aren't misrepresenting the views of the district? I look forward to seeing what the resolution states. Thank you.
Before we go on with our next speaker, the resolution is a matter of public record, so anybody can take a look at it. I want to encourage all of our speakers to stay on topic. If we stray, it encourages others to stray as well. Our next speaker is Dr. Tara Cummings.
Okay, before I start, I promise it's all on topic. It all threads the needle. It all goes there, specifically related to why we need this resolution. We know our public schools are catastrophically underfunded because lawmakers have consistently chipped away at the state's contributions while placing more and more of the burden on taxpayers. We know that the current basic allotment of $61.60 is insufficient, that it has not kept up with inflation, and that the proposal to increase it by a measly $50 is a joke. We know that the Republican lawmakers are pushing to pass SB 8, which would create $8,000 private school vouchers without any oversight or accountability. They can give out $8,000 vouchers, but can't substantially raise the allotment. It should be crystal clear that our trustees unequivocally stand opposed to anything that would reduce public education funding, but it ain't. Dr. Blasingame has spoken favorably of charter schools and school choice, which is nothing more than vouchers all gussied up. Mr. Henry has also spoken favorably of school choice. He did so from Governor Abbott's recent parent empowerment event at Cypress Christian School, where Abbott shilled Christian nationalist propaganda and pushed vouchers. I was there too, outside, across the street, protesting, as were many of the people in this room, because we will fight tooth and nail against any effort to harm our schools. Not Mr. Henry. He was inside the event, seated against known anti-CFISD extremists, as Abbott reviled our educators and promoted his voucher grift at the expense of CFISD. He also skipped the very first meeting of the CFISD Portrait of a Graduate Committee meeting, which I also serve on. So imagine my ire when I leave that protest in support of our CFISD schools to rush to make it to that committee meeting, and Mr. Henry is not there, and then later to find out where he chose to be instead. Shame on you, Mr. Henry, for your dereliction of duty. As board trustees, each of you swore an oath to support the best interest of CFISD. We clearly can't just trust all of you to fulfill that oath, so I urge you to unanimously adopt a resolution opposing any mechanism to reduce public education funding. This is your opportunity to start making it right. Thank you.
Once again, I want to encourage our speakers to stay on topic. We walk a thin line between freedom of speech and the way that we have board procedures set up. I ask everybody to be as careful and as focused as they can be. So, item 4C. I prepared this resolution with some help from Ms. Heineman, and it basically mirrors that which I have said before. It's what I told all of our legislators. I am not against vouchers, but if you give vouchers with public money, you have to have public accountability. Public accountability from an academic perspective, from a financial perspective, and a governance perspective. And that's really what this resolution addresses. It's also what the CLC put together, and this board affirmed that back in December when we affirmed the CLC priorities. So it's just pulling out this one piece of their overall priorities. Any comments, questions from the board? Let me go to the left. Julie?
Mr. Jackson, do you think that it would be beneficial or a good use of time to read it out loud, or would you prefer that
No, I think everybody can read.
No, sir, it's not posted.
it's not on the,
Ah,
right. So I think it might be beneficial to read it out loud into the record.
well, go ahead.
Marnie, is that
Yes,
acceptable?
yeah. This is discussion time.
Okay, so this is a resolution. Vouchers, education savings accounts, taxpayer savings grants, and other mechanisms that reduce public education funding. Whereas Article 7, Section 1 of the Texas Constitution requires that the Texas legislature establish and make suitable provision for the support and maintenance of an efficient system of public free schools. Whereas Texas public school districts accept every student. Whereas education savings accounts and other voucher schemes give private schools, not parents, the right to choose the students they enroll. Whereas Texas public schools adhere to state-mandated academic and financial accountability standards. Whereas private schools are not required to meet the same academic standards as public schools and do not report test results, graduation rates, and other performance measures to the public as public schools are required to do. Whereas school choice already exists in Texas via public school districts, charter schools, inter and intra-district transfers, home schools, virtual schools, and private schools. Whereas currently proposed legislation creating education savings accounts and similar voucher programs does not require accountability or transparency to the public for the use of tax dollars at private schools. Whereas using tax dollars to pay for tuition at private schools would grow into a costly and potentially unsustainable entitlement program. Whereas a taxpayer-funded voucher program would reduce the amount of state funds available for all traditional public schools, potentially resulting in cuts in staff, classes, and programs. Whereas Texas parents who accept a voucher would lose out on a long list of important parental rights outlined in Texas State Education Code and in federal law, including protections for students receiving special education services. Whereas on December 12th, 2022, the CFISD Board of Trustees unanimously approved legislative priorities that oppose education savings accounts and other voucher programs that do not ensure uniform academic and financial accountability and transparency standards for all school systems receiving public funds. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Board of Trustees calls on the state legislature to reject any diversion of public dollars to private entities in the form of education savings accounts or similar voucher mechanisms.
Thank you. Do you have further comments?
Not at this time.
To my right, Scott. Gilbert. One comment I would make, in the legislation that would be authorizing the savings accounts, there's an interesting paragraph that I read in there where students have to take an aptitude test to be able to apply for the voucher. And it didn't say what type of aptitude test, so I don't know if that means athletic or fine arts or an academic test. I'm well aware that in states where this is well funded, you have separate schools for very high performing athletes, and there's all kinds of different ways that students are skimmed and moved out of traditional public schools. So I found that one paragraph in there to be very interesting. So let's see if we want this on the consent agenda or as a standalone item. Julie?
Standalone.
Standalone. All we need is one trustee to say standalone, so it's standalone. Holly? Item 4D, the board will consider approving the superintendent's contract recommendations to issue probationary term and annual contracts for the 2023-2024 school year for teachers, administrators, and paraprofessionals. Questions only this evening. There are no speakers on this topic. Let me go to my right. Any questions? Scott? Gilbert? Julie? Oddly enough, none from me either. I know that is shocking. Item 4E. The board will consider approving. Oh, thank you. I was getting ahead of myself. May we move this to the consent agenda? Please, Holly. 4E, the board will consider approving construction proposals and contracts paid from bond funds to the recommended contractors and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contracts as recommended in the posted agenda item. We have no speakers on this topic this evening. We have two parts to it. 4E1, 2022 Cypher High School Multi-Site Master Plan, Package Number 3. 4E2, 2022 Cy Ranch and Cy Lakes Natatorium Renovations. That's it for 4E. Let me turn to the right. Scott, questions? Gilbert? To my left, Julie?
No questions.
I do have questions, and these are my standard questions. Matt?
Yes, sir.
Well, and I understand that you have a new position, but this is your first time in your new position in front of the board.
Not yet.
Well, then it's most tenuous.
Yeah. Well, you've got to vote on those contracts. No, I'm following Mr. Sprague, which are very big shoes, so I have a few months to try to soak up as much more knowledge as I can from Mr. Sprague.
So there's still plenty of green between the cup and the lip is what you're saying.
There's green between the cup and the lip. And Dr. Henry could change his mind.
Any day.
Any day.
So my standard questions.
Yes, sir.
Briefly explain the purpose of the contracts. 2, did the low bidder win the award? 3, are we legally required to award the bid to the low bidder? 4, has the winning bidder satisfactorily completed work for the district before?
Yes, sir. So the Cypher High School Multi-Site Master Plan Package 3 are the athletic areas at Cypher High School. We're going to do the baseball and softball fields like we have at the other high school. We're going to reorient the football stadium north-south. We're also going to add redo new tennis courts and add additional tennis courts in all the track and field areas at that campus. For the Cy Lakes and Cy Ranch natatorium renovations, we're replacing the HVAC at both of those facilities. The low bidder did win the bid. I'm trying to remember your questions in order. The low bidder did win the bid, but we are not required to award a contract to a low bidder. We award a contract to the best value, the bidder that provides the best value to the district. Division 1 is the low bidder the low bidder and the most successful bidder on these projects, and they've done numerous projects throughout the district.
One other question. Periodically, the board wants assurance that we've opened up the bidding process as much as possible. So is this a closed-in process at this point, or is it open to anybody who wants to bid on the project itself?
Well, these projects are about to be awarded, but our bidding process in general is very open. We encourage any qualified general contractor to bid on our contracts. The way we view it is the more competition that we get for the contracts, the better value the district gets for the dollars that we spend. All the contracts all the solicitations are publicly posted, and if anybody has any questions about a contract or how to bid a contract, they're welcome to reach out to us and we'll explain the process to them.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
May we move this to consent agenda? Looking at my, Holly, if you would. 4F, the board will consider awarding bids and contracts and/or authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda item. We have no speakers on this topic this evening. 4F1, fertilizer and pesticides. 4F2, furniture and equipment. 4F2, portable building walkway canopy installations. Let me look to my left. Any questions, comments? No questions. To my right, Scott, Gilbert. May we move this to consent agenda? Holly, thank you. 4G, the board will consider awarding bids and contracts and/or authorizing disposal of surplus technology equipment as recommended in the posted agenda item. We have no speakers. 4G1, disposal, recycling, and asset recovery services of surplus technology equipment. To my right, Scott. Gilbert. None. Julie.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment. I appreciate the thorough information that was included in the board packet. I actually learned a lot by reading through that. So thank you for that detail. I appreciate it.
Paula, you know I couldn't go this long without asking a question. Folks, I'm sorry. I tried as hard as I could.
Yes, sir.
So when you take a look at the equipment that has been deemed surplus, some of this equipment will have hard drives on it which can contain data. What are we doing to make certain that data does not leave our campus?
Yes, sir. Very good question. With the pandemic and the recent supply chain, there's been an uptick in interest of companies that are wanting to recycle technology components. So we released an RFP to try to find the best value for the district. With this RFP, we had three primary areas we were focusing on. One was to maximize the value of the end-of-life devices for the district. Another was to minimize the environmental impact. And then the third is to manage our data security requirements. So with this vendor, we asked, with all vendors, we asked to submit a detailed electronics management package or plan for any device that would leave our district. This particular vendor offers a start to finish service, and it includes IT pickup and processing, data eradication and refurbishing and selling of components, and recycling and disposing of components. As far as the data eradication, they use the same data eradication software as the Department of Homeland Security, and they wipe hard drives according to Department of Defense standards. They also use NIST, or DoD compliant data construction labs, where they sanitize these devices. And they have a litany list of processes that they go through. But as part of their eradication process, these drives are pulled at random and they're sent to forensics labs for verification of their process. So they wipe, and they have a 4-step process that they follow. And they hire an outside company that attempts to restore data from these devices. And one interesting note on their website, they have 774 clients, and out of those clients, they've processed over 813,000 devices that have been sanitized, and they have 0 data breaches.
I too looked their name up on the website, and I was most impressed. But thank you for a thorough and well-researched answer. I think we are all sensitive to data. And I found it interesting because I saw that we had a number of different vendors that supplied equipment. And certainly that speaks to the fact that in the rapid ramp-up that we had to do, we had to look at all sources.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Paula.
Can I ask-
Mr. Henry.
Yeah, one question. Emails.
Yes,
Because we're
sir.
required to hang on to those for 6 years. What
Yes,
happens
sir.
to those?
So emails are, we do retain those for 6 years. We use Microsoft O365. Those emails are maintained in the cloud, and we do have a retention strategy that's 5 + 1, 6 years.
But then after 6 years, they go away, or they get
They-
trash compacted? What happens?
They do roll off, yes, sir.
Okay. So they disappear.
They disappear.
Okay.
May we move this to the consent agenda? Holly, if you would, please. 4H, the board will consider approving a resolution to suspend portions of FMH local for the 2022, 2023, and 2023 and 2024 school years. We have no speakers on this topic this evening, but we do have a pair of presenters, Dr. Linda Macias and Dr. Heather Bergman. Or is it questions only?
This is questions only.
Questions only.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Let me look to my right. Scott? Natalie? And welcome. Thank you. I presume this means you made your long drive back safely? Thank goodness. Excellent. Good. Gilbert? Yeah. Julie?
No questions. Thank you. I look forward to graduation.
This was well documented in the board book. Thank you. May we move this to consent? Holly? Okay, 4I, the board will consider authorizing the superintendent to execute a memorandum of understanding with West Coast University for speech pathology field placement. No speakers, questions only. Julie, to my left. No questions. To my right. All good. May we move to consent? Looking to my right and to my left. Holly? Yes. 4J, the board will consider authorizing the superintendent to execute a memorandum of understanding with the University of Phoenix for student-teacher placements. No speakers, questions only. Looking to my right. Any questions? None to my left. May we move to this to consent? Holly, consent agenda. 4K, the board will consider making a determination that good cause did not exist as required by law for Lori Cortinas, Ashley Garcia, Ashley Las Marias, and Monica Lugo to resign their respective employment contracts. I would like to note that Sharon Quinley's name was removed from this agenda item after the agenda had been posted. This item may be discussed in closed session pursuant to Section 551.074. We have no speakers on this topic this evening. Marnie, will this be conducted in closed session? Thank you. We will now proceed with the discussion portion of the agenda. 5A, the administration will discuss the district-wide intruder detection audit report findings. Before we move into closed session on this item pursuant to 551.076 of the Texas Government Code, there will be a brief presentation. We have no speakers on this topic this evening. Chief Mendez?
I think it's Scott Hudson.
Scott Hudson. Thank you for joining us, sir.
You're welcome. Good evening, President Jackson, Dr. Henry, Board of Trustees. I'm here tonight to provide a brief presentation that will provide an update on the state intruder detection audits that are occurring across our district. And since last month's report, next slide, Joel, we have increased the number of campuses that have been completed in the district to 46. 29 of those are elementary schools, 10 middle, and 7 high schools. 23 campuses have passed all phases of the audit, and as indicated at last month's report, still there are no findings during phase 1. From the time period of February 10th through March 10th, 11 campuses were completed. 4 of those campuses passed all phases of the audit, and 7 campuses had findings. And those campuses, all of these campuses were covered at the District Safety and Security Committee meeting March 31st.
Thank you, sir. Detailed questions from the board can be asked in closed session, but as a matter of protocol, I will ask if there are any questions from the board at this time. Seeing none, we will have any further discussion in closed session.
Yes, sir.
I would mention that when my colleagues and I went to Austin to meet with legislators, there were a couple of times when legislators inquired about the safety audits, and I was pleased to be able to tell them that at no time was Phase 1 breached by any of the auditors hired by the state? What that means is the auditor comes in from the state of Texas and they attempt unauthorized entry into a campus. And at no point in time were they ever successful. And that, of course, is our first line of defense. And I was very proud to be able to tell them what the results were. And I'm proud to tell our parents that as well. Before we move to closed session, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I would also like to thank those who are watching from home. May I have a motion to move into closed session?
That's Monday.
So that's on Monday, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's always on Mondays. Was it for public comment or citizen participation? I'm sorry.
It was citizens.
I'm so sorry. Then that was obviously a form error on our, we don't have it posted for Thursdays, only Mondays. Yeah, but the bounce back email they got may have had an incorrect date. Yeah, and I apologize to both of you. We'll look at it internally and see if we can be more clear. Apologize.
And I would point out, for the agenda itself, you can speak on any agenda item on either Thursday or Monday, i.e. the work session or the board meeting. But citizen participation is only at the board meeting itself.
Mr. President, I move that the board convene in closed session.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Second. Motion has been made and second. All board members in favor, raise your right hand. We're now in closed session.